Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to the masterclass session on staying top of mind in challenging times. We have Mr. John Hall. He's the co-founder of calendar.com.
Hey guys, thanks for having me here. Obviously, it's challenging times, so heart goes out to anybody struggling right now, and I want to be truly helpful today. I know it's only 20 minutes, and so first rule that I have is let's keep things real. If you guys reach out to me via LinkedIn or connect through there, just say it's from this event, and I'll connect and do my best to be helpful in the future. So to get started on kind of being top of mind and also just making the most out of this new kind of world that we're in, I wanted to talk about the term, what I've kind of called ROIT. So it's this return on investment of our time, and it impacts not just how productive we are, but also just how we engage people, how we spend our time in ways that we can almost do more with less, I would say, just because in this new world, it's very, very hard to get certain things done when you have limitations. So a couple of the things I'm going to talk about today. One, it's strategically aligning efforts. So that is basically hitting a couple birds with one stone, or doing multiple things to get something done and communicating well across those channels. Another one is building relationships and trust. Trust is one of the key factors that is going to impact what's going on more than anything, because right now there is a massive lack of trust. It's not just in the US or India or England, it's all over the world where trust is being hit right now, mainly because people are struggle, or political factors or media factors. There's all these things against us that breach trust. And then the last thing is self-awareness of how we're engaging people and how we're also spending our time. That's a key, that has a key impact on how you are, like how successful you are, honestly. And it's not just from a personal standpoint or from a professional standpoint, it's also from a personal standpoint. Because right now, to be honest with you, we have our personal lives really, getting involved in our professional, because there's a little chaos and challenges that the outside world is throwing at us. So first thing, strategic line efforts. I already mentioned, and I should have, instead of killing birds, I guess I should have said feeding birds. I don't know why you kill birds, but from the standpoint of the step I want you guys to take is that here is a what I call a RACI index. And this is something that in MBA school, you'll learn about it, or, in one of those kind of super smart business schools. But in reality, I like it just because it helps you run through how you're doing things to engage different people and involve them in the process. So, when I say top of mind, there's all these different people you can be top of mind with. You can be top of mind with clients. You can be top of mind with investors. You can be top of mind with your family. But what's key to me is being top of mind with your team. And so, engaging them in a way where they think about you as a resource. They think about you as someone who is truly helpful to them. So this matrix is an example of how you can have your team and roles on the top in different departments, or whatever roles they're in. And then you have your tasks that you're doing on your left. Even if you don't use this in practice, I like people to go through it once, just to show, hey, what task am I doing and who's involved, and how can it maybe help them out? How can they help me out? And so I think that more of a strategic alignment of mindset, like this is a very simple way to train your brain to think about who else is involved. Should I, support them? Should I consult them? Should I inform them? This is just it's a great exercise. I can send the group here the template so you guys can use this, just because I built this one myself. So happy to share there. So hopefully that makes sense. I think it's never been more important right now to do things like this, because communication is becoming more and more important without the ability to see people in person all the time. Building relationships and trust, like I said, there's a part of one of my favorite movies. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it's in Dumb and Dumber, where Lloyd Christmas is a character. I'll just power through this picture so you don't have to stare at it. But if you guys ever saw that movie, Lloyd, when he had a lack of trust, he ended up basically what happened was he saw his girlfriend or his best friend with his girl, and Mary Swanson, and he got really upset, lack of trust, because he thought his best friend was with his girl. So he X-laxed him. And so he obviously that's a pretty crazy thing to do to someone, but he did it, and the reason why is because there was a lack of trust. Now that's an extreme and crazy view of why somebody would do something after trust is breached. But what the reason why I tell you that is that right now, if people don't trust you, they do crazy things and they don't communicate well, they don't engage you well. And so you really have to focus on how you can build that trust. So one of the key factors of building trust for me is cultivating a network of helpfulness. And what I mean by that is there's these, if you read my book, Top of Mind, you'll see there's these elements of things that you can do to help others and to naturally care about them in a way that helps them trust you, so they want to work with you and deal with you more. So for example, caring about their success and motivations. I challenge you to, after every, at least try after every couple conversations, ask someone just, how can I be helpful? Is there anything else I can be doing to look out for your best interests or to look out for you? Right now, it means more than, you never know what's going on in someone's life. And just the simple question, and I'm not saying, how can I help you from a sales standpoint? I'm saying, how can I look out for you? How can I be helpful? You never know what can happen right after that. I gave a speech last year at Content Marketing World, where there was a lady who was like, I really enjoyed the speech. I go, well, how can I be helpful? And she goes, oh, there's no way you could help me out. There's she's like, I'm from a small town and I'm looking for a job. And I was like, okay, well, tell me about it. And she told me about it. And it ends up right after that conversation, I ended up meeting someone who had just started an office near this town. And I connected the two. And they had a great conversation. And then I was able to walk away knowing that, I helped that person out. And later on, they reached out to me and said, hey, just so you know, that meant so much to me that you just looked out. And I didn't do anything amazing. All I did simply was I cared about their success, and I just asked them what was helpful. A lot of times you can give introductions and advocate for people simply by paying attention to what they're doing. And, when you see sharing something on LinkedIn or something that's, hey, we just made this, Inc. 500 list or this, whatever, simply just write a note, write a comment, share it out, really keep an eye out for ways you can advocate. And then when you see an opportunity, recognize them. So like when you look at one of our bigger relationships early on was with LinkedIn. And somebody asked, how did you get that relationship at a high level? Well, what I tell people is we simply just gave feedback to the executives. We wrote a letter or an email to the execs about a great experience we had with one of their employees. That ended up resulting and meant so much to that person. They advocated for us when there was an opportunity for a partnership, and it created an opportunity for us. So, a lot of times it's easy to complain, but, really recognizing people and keeping an eye out for them and advocating for them as people is really powerful. At the same time, sending them, or like gifting, if you can send gifts. I'm not saying some industries aren't able to send gifts, but just doing small things. One of our bigger publication relationships early on, when she got married, I just sent a couple small gardening tools, which wasn't big, but I wrote a note saying, I know that you do this with your husband and you garden together. just wanted to do some to tell you it's the small things that life that matter. Is at least in my marriage it has, and it meant so much to that person, and it wasn't an expensive thing. So there's all these things that you can do to cultivate a network of helpfulness, and it results in people thinking about you more, looking out for you more. And then you have this last thing, which is probably the most important because you can scale it. It's consistent education, and it's never been more important, honestly. One of my challenges that I had a few years back was I would go and speak to groups like this, and I wouldn't even listen to my own feedback or my own what I was telling people. And I wasn't engaging my wife the same way I should engage, that I was telling people to engage others and look out for others. And so I simply went home and asked my wife, "Hey, how can I help?" And she goes, "Oh, well, let's have a, and then she's like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" She was like, "Well, like how can I enhance your life? How can I make you a, happier person and just a better version of yourself and make myself better?" So we ended up having a glass of wine and having a drink, and we talked about it. And she said, one of the things she said was, "I'd love to have you if you just cooked." And I go, "Well, really?" I was like, "All right, well, that's interesting." And I was like, "Okay, I'm happy to look into that." And anyway, a week or two goes by, and I don't do anything. And I get this article, and it was from one of those HelloFresh plated type places that said, "Hey, this is the 7 tools you need to succeed in the kitchen." So it was a tools list of what I needed to succeed. Then a week or two later, I still didn't do anything, wasn't being a good husband. A week or two later, my wife sends me another article, and it's it was about what spouses need to do better in the kitchen. And it's like, to understand. It was a joke about how spouses can't never, or certain spouses don't feel comfortable in the kitchen, so they do dumb things. And it was funny. I laughed really, really hard. I still didn't do anything. Well, we're coming up on our next night where we're going to have wine and talk about, how we can look out for each other. And anyway, she asked me right before that night. She goes, "Hey, John." She's like, she simply just goes, "How's cooking going?" And she said it with genuine. She wasn't trying to be. She's like, "Anything I can do." And I just stood. I was like, "Oh my god!" And I had this gut wrenching feeling, like in my stomach. I was just like, "I can't believe I haven't done this." And the one place that I ended up running to, because this is what I call in my book a moment of vulnerability. It happens all the time to people where they get this gut feeling because they either failed or something happens that their boss comes in and says, "Why didn't you do this?" And you want in that moment people to think about you and come to you, whether it's from a sales standpoint or from a trust standpoint. Like, they're thinking that you're a good relationship. And what I did was I simply went back to those articles, and I went to the site where those came from, and I ended up realizing that I actually didn't even have to learn how to cook. I could actually just hire the service to do it. So I did that, and for a week I was a hero. Like, my wife loved it. She was like, "Oh, this is great," and I wasn't even doing the work. I was having it sent to my house. And so anyway, what ended up resulting from that was I sat down again with my wife and said, "Hey, honey, I have to come clean." And I was like, "I've been ordering this service. They've been doing it. I haven't been doing the work." And she said, "Oh, John, I know." She's like, like, I could have been mad at you as a wife, but instead I wanted to educate you. I wanted to get you the tools you need. I wanted to educate you on, how not everybody's comfortable. So you felt more comfortable in the kitchen." And she's like, "You could have either, learned how to do it, or you were going to hire the service that was, providing that good content." She's like, "So I went either way." She's like, "Isn't this content marketing and engaging content? Like, isn't this what you do on a regular basis?" And I was like, this is exactly what I do on a like. And so this is my wife. She's a very lovely person, and this is, if you're familiar with Star Wars, I mean, this is Yoda, and she basically used content and engaging and naturally engaged me in a way where she used education. And I know every day we have teammates that we get frustrated with. We have customers that we wish they did what we wanted them to do. But simply, that was a really good example to me of how you can use education and content really consistently to nurture people, not just in like a marketing tactic, but just around you. And so just think about that when you're talking about how to stay engaged and top of mind in this world. That's a key part of it there. So the last thing I want to talk, since we're running short on time here, is being aware of how you spend your time. this is something that, once again, it has an effect on your not just your productivity, but how you engage people. Because the more you engage people, the more you actually think about how your time is used, the more you can be thoughtful and do other things around that are a little more deliberate, rather than somebody just hijacking your schedule. So here is an example of, this is calendar.com. This is my tool transparently, so you can kind of see how how I looked at the tool initially. This is an earlier version of it. But I looked at it and I saw, and I put it in as a joke, day drinking during quarantine. I wasn't actually doing day drinking that much. But when you look at this, you see I missed 3 meetings. You see that I had more than 1 hour meetings. So I had 8 meetings attended that were more than 1 hour. I know for a fact that I'm less engaging after an hour. I lose energy, I lose interest. So why am I having 8% of my meetings being over an hour? Why am I doing like these things where like I'm working, working in ways where, or scheduling in ways, 85 hours of meetings? Like, are you kidding me? Then it's not. And so I made some adjustments, if you see here, and I changed and I cut down my meetings. I missed less. I spent less time on 1 hour meetings. And so like just by simply looking at the analytics with my own tool, I could see there was a major difference in how I could spend my time better. I even scheduled time with my wife and kids, as you can see there. Another thing is my before I wasn't spending Lindsay's my wife, and some of the people at the top are people I should have been spending time with. But and I put Justin Bieber as a joke at the bit. I really didn't have any meetings with him, but I looked at the people I was meeting with, and then at first it was people that didn't even have an effect on my business or I enjoyed. It was just hijacking my schedule in a way. And so pay attention to the people that you're scheduling time with, that you're being around. It has a dramatic effect on how productive and how you engage people, because the more time you have to spend on the right things, the more engaging you're going to be. So this is an article from HBR, and this is probably one of the most important tactics when it comes to engagement and productivity. And if you look at this quote, it says, in a study we conducted of 100 productivity hacks, time boxing was ranked as the most useful. And so, I strongly encourage you to time box. And if you don't know what the word time box means, I honestly didn't a few years ago. But as I've been studying on how to really make the most of your time, and how you engage people, time boxing was key, because what that is that you're actually allocating time towards things where you schedule out your day, or you schedule out your week, and you even schedule out breaks in there. So you actually put like, a mental break of 10 minutes in here. Now, what's nice about that is that not only does it get you to accomplish tasks quicker, because you know you have a time frame that you need to get it done in, but it also allows you to rest your brain when you do take those breaks, because then it gives yourself permission to truly not think about work, so you can recharge and come back stronger. So the last thing I will end, we're coming up on our time here. The last thing I'll end is this quote, is that's the thing about life. It is short, it's precious. Each day is a gift. We should do everything we can to spend our time in the best way possible. So here is the content. You can check out calendar.com. You can check out my speaking page. That's an HBR article that I added in there. Like I said, you can connect on LinkedIn. And the last thing that I'll tell you is just focus. Focus on what's important to you. I keep this at my desk, and I put, these are the things that matter. These are the things I can control. And this is what I focused on. This is a common Venn diagram that you'll see out there. But for me, it's never been more important to do this well, especially whether you're a marketer, whether you're a leader, whether you're just a person, to keep your own mental strength up. It's important to look at this when things get to you, so you can focus on what matters. It will allow you to communicate better. It will allow you to think more clearly. I just appreciate you guys having me here, and thank you for your time, and have a good night.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was wonderful, insightful session.
Great. Are we good to go here?
We are having actually many questions. So if you can please share the email ID with our participants so that they can directly write back to you and you can again reply back to them at your convenience.
Sure. Do you? What's the easiest way to? I mean, they can connect through LinkedIn, and I respond through messaging on LinkedIn. If you just want to direct them to my LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yes. Does that work?
Yeah, great. That suits us. Thank you so very much once
All
again.
right. Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, same here.
All right,
We're
bye.
privileged to have you. Thank you.
Yes, I can hear you. Crystal, am I better now? Audible? Okay. I think you're audible across, so I can hear you crystal clear. Okay. Oh, it's fabulous. You just in an earlier session we have a resident corporates joined, and we have over 2,300 people corporates from South Asia. That's not bad. Yes, yes, across platforms. Yes, yes. So the 943 members of the CII platform directive, then you have video streaming, and then you have video. So, no, so Professor Kumar happened today morning. So there is this part, there was a morning session, then we have the main session with the theme, and then in the evening we have a live performance video. Because that suits your timeline. Yes, yes, that would be great. I don't know if you've been given presenter access yet, but you just. Yes, yes. All set. That's it. Yeah. So, yeah, we're about 3 minutes or 4 minutes behind. So, let's start on time. And I'll just quickly introduce you to your topic and then I'll hand it over. Yes, yes, actually, I think that's a very good time because lots of people will have those who have obviously. Yes, actually, we always thinking about the whole COVID as well that we've been able to reach out to people remotely. So that's what I mean. Yes. Yes. Right. True. That's absolutely right. Yes. This is one of the positives. Indeed, I mean, that Professor Dawkins was saying the same thing. Uh, Actually reaching out to so many people and all joining very quickly. Otherwise, the whole affair of travel and so on. Looks a bit outdated. Yes, the human element is definitely the but because times are changing and there are a mix of both. I think we would best be to guide us for the future. Yes. In fact, yeah. So, I think it's just not time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to actually welcome him today with us. Mr. John Benedict. He is the CMO's Maxime Distinguished Professor of Marketing, Executive Director, AR, sorry, Honorary Professor, EN, Professor, the subject of your talk today is to talk leadership in a time of unprecedented crisis. And before you commence, I'll just quickly introduce, of course, it doesn't need much introduction, but I'll put in a few words about this. Professor Stephen is a political and he has written 5 books for practitioners, including his forthcoming, including his current book, which is the time to be lessons for today's leaders from bold decisions that change this earlier books include retail disruptors, the spectacular rise and impact of the hard discomfort, global brand strategy, worldwide marketing in the age of branding, brand breakout, how emerging market brands will move global, and so on, and many others. Uh, Professor Stephen has also taught, consulted, and given executive seminars on all continents. His work has been featured in the Harvard Business Review, Wall Street Journal, and Financial Times, New York Times, among many others. Of course, Professor, we had the great honor of having you on one of our audio programs. And thank you again for joining us here today. So, without further ado, I am happy to introduce. CII.